Hello everyone, this is Menz here. I'm going to be playing the E-25 Tier 7 German tank destroyer here on Fisherman's Bay. Now this match ends up being a ace tanker match as well as me having a high caliber award. I do just under 3,400 damage and I also assist with 1,400. Now playing the E-25 on a map like this, a lot of wide open spaces, quite a few bushes, and the distance between tanks to use to kind of exploit the camouflage and the decent V range of the E-25, as well as its small spot size and speed. Now starting out here and throughout the match, you can really use the E-25 as a scout sometimes. I know that sounds weird because usually playing one or playing against one, you're getting shot by him, plinked away by its high DPM, low rate of, or high rate of fire, I should say, low reload time. But really scouting with this thing sometimes and spotting for your team when they need it can honestly be more important sometimes, especially because in a match like this against like a T-32, the IS-6, the IS-3 in a way, T-29 if it was hull down, penetrating them even with the APCR rounds. 194 is decent, but not as good as some other TDs, and your standard 150 is pretty low, but the DPM is outrageous on this. So starting out here, zipping around, trying to spot a couple things, definitely can work in your favor. Now, playing the E-25 is really a, not to stop the video here again, I'll stop it here soon, but equipment wise, I use optics, a gun rammer, and I believe vents, just to really get the most out of your DPM, and also to have vision moving around the map at all times, because you're rarely going to be still enough to use binocs or camouflage net. You're better off just putting camo crew, the camo crew skills on your crew, and just going with that. Camouflage is good enough, better getting out of V range. So starting out here, I'm kind of thinking to myself like, I can set up here, do some damage, but once people start pushing in, you're kind of screwed. So I'm not going to want to get myself in a spot where the enemy is going to be able to spot me. Once you're spotted in this, people are going to kill you pretty quickly. So instead trying to find a spot where I spot the M41. Fortunately, I'm not getting annihilated just yet, but with the low size of this, it is fairly difficult for someone to shoot you, and he finally spots me right about when he was there. So now I kind of slink back and hopefully don't get killed. But outside of their one light tank, haven't seen anything yet as far as them pushing up. So I set up here, maybe they're going to end up pushing straight on me here, but still nothing. And we have a ton of people this way, so better for me to kind of bite the bullet and start slowly pushing up here. And at the Comet, now the T-50 pushing up here, they're close enough to where they can spot me. Had I not pushed up that little bit more though, we would never have seen them before they jumped down there. Nobody else would have spotted them by that. But fortunately, still nothing that we can't handle. But once I got hit by that E2, time for me to get behind a rock, find myself a different spot, because trying to push up now, like the ARL starting to push up, you're going to be spotted when you're shooting those guys, and you're going to take more damage than what you're actually dishing out, and it's not worth it. E-25, you always want to try to find spots, which they're not always there, but try to find spots where you can utilize. Whoa there, that's not even a word. Utilize the camo. And fortunately here I'm able to get shots off. I'm not going to get hit by another enemy tank unless they crest over here, and RD won't aim in fast enough. But I move over to the middle only because trying to push into these two, very dumb decision. So better for me to work the best that I can in the center. But at this point, we still have the problem of our town's not doing bad, but most likely they're kind of outnumbered over there. And we have a lot of people, in the southwest corner. They're not really moving up. There are a lot of TDs, so I get it. But our town over here, enemies pushing like shit. So you know, I zip over this way. You know, the IS-6 and those tanks are close enough to where when I fire, it's a good chance, you know, that they're gonna be able to see me. But you know, it's worth the risk. At least initially. You know, T-34 starts aiming my way, but you know, I'm small enough to where I'm not too concerned about him. Still, I'm only at 600 damage. I do over 3,300 here. We just lost the town. You know, we have a couple tanks in between them and the base, but since E-25 is fast, taking a little bit of a gamble here, and I decide to fight the Rudy, which, you know, he's able to damage me every time, but I know I can kill him and still survive here. It's going to be, you know, more damage than what I want to put out, but, or not put out, but take. And I bounce that one shot, but switching over to APCR helps. But, you know, I felt like it was important to free up the middle since the enemy is pushing into our base, pretty much all their heavy tanks, and I could be in a good spot situated in the center to help stop them. At this point, this SU-100Y, he gets into safety, at least from me. I wanted to take him out though because that's a big gun. But now we have these heavy tanks here, which, you know, I have a pretty good camouflage crew on this. You know, at the time of this video, I have one crew member who doesn't have it, the camo perk. I have two with it 100%, and one, I believe, a little bit over 80%, it looks like. But, you know, once you get the fully camouflage crew, even without a camo net, you can safely fire on most tanks, right about inside your green view range if you have optics on. Especially like Russian tanks like the IS-6, they don't always have the best view range on them. Against, you know, higher tier tanks, you know, the 8s with good view range like mediums, you're definitely going to keep them at maximum view range, if not in between the green and the white line. But, you know, considering, you know, there's a little bush here, I'm able to kind of utilize that, and it's going to start firing away here because they are advancing and advancing quick. I load up APCR because I start seeing my shots turning from the side of a T-29 to an IS-6 and a T-32, so better for me to try to get some damage here. I'm trying to aim for some of these shots towards the tracks because if I can track them, not only does that make it easier for me to shoot them, but I also can get assist damage for destroying their track on top of potentially if I spot them. But at this point, I quickly go up to 2,500 damage and 1,200 spotting damage. You know, from pushing over to the center, killing the Rudy, and, you know, start getting some shots. Once you start getting, you know, the key to the E-25 and getting really great matches is exploiting, you know, basically the DPM combined with the camouflage. You know, you have a crazy amount of DPM, but it's really only useful against, outside of if you just completely spam APCR at everything like I'm kind of doing here. You know, you really have to get flank shots on heavy tanks, TDs, stuff like that. Momentarily, I thought about going after the E2 because these guys had stalled. You know, but with him out, it just makes sense for me to wait for them to make a mistake here. Which the T-32, for whatever reason, decides to, you know, push into the rest of our team, which, you know, it's unlikely that they were going to win, but that was kind of a anticlimactic end for him. But at this point, you know, with just two tanks left, better for me to push in and try to spot, which this T-29, you know, he doesn't even see me, and I was fairly close to him because I wasn't shooting. You know, at 415 HP, you know, shooting him now, he could have spotted me, but obviously he doesn't have the best crew, or maybe not the top turret, something in that. But, you know, a little bit of APCR, even against the front of a T-29, is kind of useful at times at long range. And, you know, very quickly can you get the damage up on this, or you can not get any damage at all, depending on, like, if I had stuck in a 1-2 line, would have been completely different story. We still probably would have won, but you know, it would have been a lot tougher. But also, you know, if I'd stayed over there, not taken a slight gamble to try to get myself hidden in the center by killing that Rudy, basically I would have been shooting straight on to those guys there. Which, sorry about that. Had a delivery and someone at the door I had to take. So a little break in the video there. But anyway, getting to the end game screens, which Levi's a little excited back there too. You know, getting to the end here. Got a Ace Tanker award, High Caliber award. You know, positioning in E-25 is the most important part of it. And, you know, you can throw out a ton of rounds, which you can go through them really quickly too. So finding the best position when you're actually shooting is key in this, to where you're not seen because you don't have a lot of HP and don't have a lot of armor. So basically, let me get my video, my webcam above that too. Whoopsie daisy. Getting goddamn delivery is throwing me off here. You know, getting, you know, the right position to where when you're making shots, hopefully you're penning most of them, is definitely important in this thing. And, you know, it can, in a pinch, be a scout. I like doing that at the beginning of matches. That way it gives me the best chance to find where I would have sent up. And then, all right, the next screen here, easily the most amount of damage, especially compared to the enemy team. They didn't really get too much damage off, even though they won very easily in the town. You know, it wasn't that close as far as damage numbers go, surprisingly. And then finally, I shoot 40 times. I only hit 31 of them, and I penetrate 28. Definitely helped using a bit of APCR, but yeah, sue me. E-25 doesn't have the best penetration. I do a lot of the damage, just about half of it, from over 300 meters. Very important in the E-25, you know, keeping range on people, but you know, you can fire with the use of bushes. Definitely knock down some trees because you're not going to be utilizing their camouflage if they're still standing up. They will not help you that way. Like sometimes, you know, even outside of the E-25, if you think you're going to be coming back, kind of pulling back from a spot you're like scouting from, and you can afford hitting a couple trees, you know, sometimes it can help you. But anyway, outside of that, I assisted with 1400 damage. You know, I more or less just spotted 2 enemies on my own first. But, you know, spotting in this thing, you can shoot and spot and be invisible if you set up in the right bush and you're shooting at the right enemy. But, you know, you can definitely push up a little bit, spot, and you're quick enough to pull back enough and start getting a few shots off before they disappear as well. It's not always the easiest to do, but it is technically a viable strategy in this, depending on, you know, the tank that you're shooting at. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. Sorry for the little break in between the end and recap here. You know, Levi absolutely hates delivery people, which fortunately it was a FedEx person. For whatever reason, he hates UPS people. He hates cardboard boxes, so maybe because they wear brown suits, he thinks they're cardboard boxes that have become sentient. But anyway, thanks again for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you haven't caught my live stream, feel free to check it out. There's a past live stream at the end of the video here. Otherwise, I stream several times a week on YouTube here. You know, if you're a subscriber, you get notifications for it. Otherwise, you know, you can find a link to it on my main channel page. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and have a good one. See you around.